if you're going to play in Texas, you got to have a fiddle in the band. In this case, the fiddle is needing more than 50% of the vote in the primary election, which didn't happen in numerous races in Van Zandt County. Let's take a look at the marquee matchup, the race for DA. Boy, was it a contested one. Boy, was it a hot election season. The fireworks were coming in. Not a lot of it amongst the candidates, mainly from outside sources that loathe Tonda Curry. Let's take a look at the breakdown of what happened. So in a 3-horse race, in a primary, it's not uncommon to see a runoff happen, and that's because of the dispersion of votes. Now you got a third candidate pulling votes away from the other two. And if you look, the third place vote receiver in this particular race did pull 20% of the vote. In fact, he and the challenger, Richard Schmidt, combined for 60% of the overall vote. Now, the incumbent, the sitting district attorney, Tonda Curry, she received 37. Again, to recap, no one received more than 50%. So we're going to throw the top two back into the ring and let them duke it out at a primary in May. It's not the only race around here that's going to happen too, but we're going to focus on this one for now. Let's look at why I think Tonda not only is being forced to a runoff, but she didn't receive the most votes. Richard Schmidt did. I believe it's because of those Tonda haters, as I call them. Barbecue Big John. You know, I don't know what's going to happen to him in the near short term, but he may want to consider being a campaign manager for someone in the future. He didn't fare well here because his chosen candidate, Sokola, got third place. But look at what Sokola had to overcome. He's not from around here. People were hammering over the fact that he's from Connecticut, and I don't believe he's ever even prosecuted a case. So there were a lot of things that were going to have to happen. A lot of faith was going to have to be displayed by the by the voters in Van Zandt County. And that's not an easy task. But John got this guy 20% of the vote. He got him 1,189 votes. So kudos to you, John, for your work, for your candidate. Now, some people are going to say, oh, you hate John. You did a video about him, his impending arrest. I did a video about John because of something I heard from sources, because it's been put out there that Tonda was going to prosecute him. So look at the video as you will. It's on my YouTube page. It literally doesn't have anything with me trying to rub John's nose and shit, I promise you. It's more of an illumination thing saying, hey, in fact, why do so many people that are civilians know about his potential charges? And I think it comes from bravado of thinking, hey, we're going to go in, we're going to waltz in and win this race. And that is my main problem with the way Tonda ran the race. I was told, again, I wasn't there, that John heckled her at some debates. Or maybe more of an appropriate term that John might like to say is maybe he verbally challenged her. I don't know. I wasn't there. He did get her pissed off. It got captured on tape. Tonda should have responded to that. I'm told she has a campaign manager. I believe it's a young guy that lives in Van Zandt County. He should have spoken up for her. You know, you got to defend your girl. You got to come at John when he posts that video and she loses her cool clearly and says something I know she wished she could take back, that, hey, I'm going to prosecute you. That set into motion a lot of things. The next day, her or her campaign manager should have done a video saying, hey, and this guy was doing this to me. I wasn't being professional. I'd like to have that one back. Don't judge my whole body of work based on a slip of my, temper. Maybe characterize it as being passionate or whatever. But it was crickets. I didn't hear anything. Instead, some of her supporters are online antagonizing, even though they may be right. There's a right way and a wrong way to handle these things. Schmidt is put on a textbook class of running a campaign. I haven't seen the official numbers, but I was told by Schmidt via text last night that he spent $5,000 on this election and she spent $75,000, and yet he's the lead vote getter. And it comes down to messaging. I even spoke to some of those inside Curry's camp, some of her supporters, not official campaign managers or anybody on her staff. And then even up to 2 weeks ago, they were super confident that she was going to be reelected, get the over 50% required here in the primary and put it to rest. I advised them then, no, it's hardly empirical data, but I'm asking everyone I see in public what they think about the DA race, and there was a lot of grumbling about Tonda. It's messaging. Barbecue John is an effective messenger, right? He packaged it with religion and his passion for, evidently getting rid of game rooms. That's what he says, right? And it's affected people. I know Tonda's team has to have some regrets about how they handled it. I think they thought if we just be quiet and let it go away, nothing will be said. Another example, a gentleman interviewed right here in my podcast studio, because I'm a neutral party. I want everyone to get a chance to speak. I've invited Tonda, both in some of the videos and to some of her supporters, and said, hey, have her come in. Let's talk. Let's peel back the layers on all this. Tim McLemee came in here and said she doesn't deserve to be the DA, and he feels like he has the receipts to prove her character flaws should keep her out of the race. And she didn't counter that. And his isn't just hearsay, right? He was arrested back in whatever year it was, and everything was dropped. And he's hammering her over that, as I would probably too. Tonda needs to come out and speak on that, because I can promise you that narrative is going to pick up steam even more as we go from now until the runoff. So my advice to Tonda and her team is you got to control the messaging, got to control the narrative. Talk about what you've done, because if you talk about wins and losses, Schmidt's going to mop the floor with her because he's beating her in cases. Okay, he's got the receipts. He's also saying someone she fired because she didn't deem them to be maybe a quality prosecutor. He is now the understudy to Richard Schmidt. He works at Richard's firm. Maybe Richard's mentoring him. I don't know the dynamic, but he also is beating Tonda, his former boss, on a regular basis. And enough voters heard that, and they bought into winning still matters. That they disrupted this vote. Now, it's a long way from over, okay? But if Joseph Sokola's supporters get behind Schmidt, Tonda's in trouble. I do believe, and I thought if they had just focused on Richard Schmidt and had all the Sokola voters vote for Richard Schmidt, I believe they would have won the primary. Again, I don't have a dog in the fight. I find the whole thing intriguing. I get so many emails. This person did this person did that. I get them on anonymous YouTube messages, but no one ever has receipts. And the most intriguing person I've interviewed throughout the whole process has been Tim McLemee. And Tim has a story, and he has more stories about Tonda that I think you'll see between now and the election. But anyway, I want to talk real quick before we get off about another race. It was the race for county judge, a crowded 5-horse race. Again, the top two are going to go because the incumbent, Andy Reese, did not receive 50% of the vote. So he's going to square off with Whitworth, Jeff Whitworth, in May. He got 21%. So together they represent a little over 50% of the combined vote. I believe Jeff's anti-courthouse, or maybe I shouldn't say he's preaching more fiscal responsibility, like, hey, we should not be spending money on jails and courthouses, without at least at a minimum letting the public vote on it. So I think if Jeff pounds the county with that information between now and then, hits everyone over the head with it, he's probably going to fare well. But again, I want to talk with Tonda. I want to talk with Schmidt. I want to host the debate between you guys, right? Other media entities here, they may have ruled themselves out on the debate because, for example, in Schmidt versus Curry, They've been supporting Curry since the get-go. And so I think it needs to be a unilateral debate held somewhere, a business in Van Zandt County, and there needs to be 10 questions asked, and all 10 questions come from a survey of the public. And it'll be an open town hall meeting as well, and we'll let them stand up and ask the questions. And you, the people, deserve that. We deserve to see these two square off. Let me know what you think in the comments about the race, and we'll see what happens on this DA race. Very intriguing, and I thought Chad LaPrade was gonna find his way to come in for the runoff. I really did, and I'm a little shocked on that one. So anyway, if you don't follow the Alexander Hour on YouTube, it'd be cool if you did.